So there it is. So I see it now. Great, fantastic. This is working. So I can go here. Waiting for Ronnie Haskins, April 26th. This is, oh, here we are. We're live. So now I can cut and paste this and tag you in it to Facebook and share it with some people. Tag Jay Boykin.
I think that I'm seeing the right class. I see that CC's corner is already in there.
CC's in there. What's up, CC? Yep. Hey, CC, how you doing? She's in Colorado.
And my brother Jeff's in there from the barbershop.
Jeff's in the barbershop. You know what he's doing? He's in there talking trash about where Dwayne Haskins got drafted to all of his boys in the barbershop about how his Dallas Cowboys friend is going to be wearing a Redskins jersey.
Can't do it, man. Can't do it.
No? Oh, man, dude. That's a tough one. He just like tortured me throughout that thing. Like the draft was going on. He's like, yo, the Giants didn't take him. 5 more picks until he becomes a Redskin. And I was like, it's not going to happen. And then he got to the Dolphins and they didn't take him. And then the next team didn't need a quarterback. And I was like, I watched, it was like slow motion when the commissioner walked out there.
Yeah. I think Washington got a steal. My prediction is that Haskins ends up being the best quarterback out of this draft.
That's your, yeah, Kyler Murray, they're expecting him to be like a Russell Wilson, but we'll see.
Yeah.
You know, he must be some special type of athlete, man. I don't know much about him.
Yeah. CC, good morning. Glad to hear you're doing well. I'm doing fantastic.
Yeah, CC, we're doing pretty good. We're enjoying the weather, and it's a big weekend. Everything is canceled except Avengers Endgame. Yeah.
You got your tickets?
Oh, yeah. I bought them like 3-4 weeks ago. But even on the day I went to buy them, it was sold out everywhere. I ended up getting a row that I didn't want, but I got tickets.
Yeah. I bought mine yesterday, so.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, all right, well, let's talk about it. So today, guys, we are talking about our story. Where we left off on our story the last time, we were discussing, we met on the basketball court, and, we need a little preview thing that we can put up like last week on the story. But we're moving forward we went to take jobs. And one thing that resonates with Jay and I were discussing what we're going to talk about today is when we went to get these jobs, what did that look like? And how did we do it? And where did we start? And what was our thought process? So the main focus seems to be we wanted to go add value to a company or a team that we could support and show what our value was to that team so that we would have some room to grow. Does that sound about right, Jay?
Yeah, I think that's correct. And I think it's important. And again, whether you are starting your own business or you are working for another organization, each of us has to find a way to add value. How do we stand out? How can we grow our career or grow our business? So even in your case, Ronnie, in starting your business, you had to start from somewhere. You didn't, you started out working for somebody, but even now, as you try to attract new customers, you have to find a way to add a value to them so that not only do they use you for the first time, but they keep coming back and they keep referring you to their friends and family.
That's exactly right. Definitely. You know, you have to find a way to add value. You can't just always have your hand out receiving. You have to give. And you know, it's just like the majority of the things I do are for free, you know, to show people that I'm very valuable to their lives.
Absolutely. And I was reading this article that I found online that was talking about adding value, and it talked about four ways that you can add value. And so, number one, you can improve efficiency. Number two, you can improve the quality of a service or a product. Number three, you can fix a problem that already exists. And number four, you can prevent a future problem. So find a way to help that organization to not have some problem in the future. So how do those sound to you?
I absolutely love them. You know, they all have their own little areas that we could talk about because I've got them right here on my phone. Um, but one of the things, like when we talk about that first topic, improving efficiency, you have a story about how you know, like you go get a job, you know, and they're like, we're hiring you to do X, Y, and Z. So you can stay in that lane and just do X, Y, and Z for many, many, many years. Tell them about how you showed the people that you were working for that you were much more valuable than just doing A, B, and C.
Absolutely. So as I mentioned in our last video, once we got off the basketball court and had to go find a job, I went to work for a company called Conrad's, which was a retail outlet that at the time had about 20, 25 stores up and down the Colorado Front Range area. And I was working in the main office there as their accountant. And so obviously they hired me to just do their books. So I came in every day and looked at the cash receipts and the sales from all the different stores, and was just responsible for keeping the books up to date, making sure that all the cash and everything was up to date. But that being said, it was interesting. The gentleman who owned the company he was an elderly gentleman, and his routine every single day was exactly the same. He walked into the building, he grabbed the newspaper, and he went into his office and he had this journal book. And
Wow.
in this journal book, he had all of his different stocks that he owned written in this journal. And it was probably 30 to 40 different stocks. I mean, and this guy owned stocks at the time, railroad stocks, IBM, all these blue chip stocks. And so he would go down through the newspaper and figure out where that stock closed the previous day, write that price down. And so he'd do that for all of these stocks. And then he would sit there with his 10 key and do the multiplication to figure out, his number of shares times that price. And then he would do the math on how much he had gained or lost in his portfolio over the last 24 hours.
So it was a system that worked, but it was super inefficient. Like
It would take him hours. He would spend most of the morning working on nothing but that. So every day,
wow.
every single day. So, I mean, he left the journal book just sitting on his desk. It wasn't like I had to go break into something to get to it. It was sitting right there on his desk. So I decided to automate that whole process. So, I took a few hours and, used a program online, put his portfolio in there. And so basically every morning I could come in, hit refresh, and within seconds, I would have a refreshed report that I could print out, put on his desk, and it would show him everything that it took him hours to do. It would do it almost instantly. So, the first day that he got that report, it was funny. I remember him saying, "Did you do this?" And I'm like, "Yes, sir. I just thought that would help you out a little bit." And for probably the first week or two, he would continue to do his old process, checking the math to make sure it worked. But then after that, he would come in every morning and say, "Jay, do you have my report for me?" And it was, so it saved him hours of his morning, and he could spend more time focusing on, I guess, what other stocks he wanted to invest in.
Okay, that's great, man. So you improved the efficiency of the whole company because he could free up his time to do something else
Absolutely.
and still get his numbers. So that's great. And so was that the first job you took after we left the basketball court?
That was the very first job.
So when I walked into Auto Search in June '98, our company didn't have a way to do anything. And to make it a short story, I tried to add efficiency too. Like I wanted to help the company grow. I wanted to work for more than just a paycheck. And if you can see this form, you see this thing right here? This is a finance contract.
Right.
Back in the day, we had to handwrite these, had to fill this in by hand with an ink pen and a 10-key calculator to figure out exactly how to finance cars. But when I started with the company, we didn't have a way to finance cars. So what I did, I took it upon my own initiative to go talk to some banks and get financing set up for us, which actually helped the entire company grow because then we could offer financing to people. So same type of thing. How can you add value? How can you, push the envelope to prove to the people that you're supporting that your value is higher? They need you on this team for a long period of time.
I think that's great. So let me ask you a question. So now, as we fast forward to where you are today, and you think about trying to deliver your service, and that's how I think about what you do. I've purchased a lot of cars through you, but I don't think about it from what the tangible product is that I'm trying to get. To me, you offer a service. Yes, I could go out and do all of that legwork myself.
Yeah.
But I think about it differently. I think about it from the service that you offer to me. So what are some of the ways that you try to help shift people's mindsets and not think about, the tangible product of the vehicle, but thinking about the added value that you and your team provide to them?
Yeah, that's a good question. So like it hasn't really changed much really in 20 years. I think it's actually my thought processes behind the value that we add have maybe shifted a little bit, but it hasn't changed much. So we save you time, we save you hassle, which all, adds up to money as well. Pricing on the vehicles is definitely something we want to save you as well. But, the majority of the service and value we add is a different perspective on what you're trying to accomplish with your car buying. So unfortunately, what I have to explain to people is this is the largest purchase you will make, second to your house, and you've been probably doing it wrong for a couple of decades. And so trying to get them to understand that there's a better way to do this. If you can remove the emotion from it, if you can look at your vehicle as what you should be looking at it as just a tool, then we can astronomically save you money over a period of 6, 12, 15 years. Like we can show you and quantify what you can be doing with those extra dollars instead of putting them into a vehicle that's depreciating. And so when I finally get that message across to people and they understand it, then we work great with them and we save them thousands of dollars over an extended period of time. So, that's where we're at. I mean, and convenience, man. I mean, you spend 1 hour with me. So basically we're always preaching that, if you value your time, you got kids and families and you don't want to be at a dealership for 4 or 5 hours, you can sit down with us for an hour. We'll figure out your entire car situation and advise you on what we think you should be doing.
Absolutely, and that's been my personal experience with using you and your team to help me and my family. I mean, we've gone from purchasing one vehicle for myself to now you're helping add value to my entire family. You've even got my son in a car as well. So it's been great. And for me, while I might go walk past the dealership just to get an idea of something that I might be interested in, I am not spending hours in a dealership ever. So, your service is something that I will continue to use because I value my time. I value my wife's time, and I can. For me, going and sitting in that little room at the dealership, where that the deal just changed on you, from the floor to that room, something changed. I don't want to do that. So the value that you and your team provide is huge.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you very much. Let's move on to number 2, improving the quality of a service or a product. Improve the quality of a service or a product. You have a story for that one?
Well, even in my company today, so I lead a finance team. So I've got 20 people who report to me, and we do accounting and finance type functions. And one of the things that I try to challenge my team with is that even though you may be doing some of the things that you do, it's not broken per se. What are some ways that we can try to help our customers in a better way? And so for us, because we are a support function at the company, we have most of our customers are internal. They're people that actually work for the company as well. And so, it would just be easy for me to sit back and say, here's the revenue, here's our expenses, here's the bottom line, here's how much profit we made for this period. That's great. But the other thing that we try to do is to provide checkpoints, to provide data and information to people to help them to make good business decisions. So, for example, I know that you're a sports fan. I know that you're a football fan. We were talking about the whole draft and everything.
I'm going to get the Haskins jersey, yes.
Got to get the Haskins jersey. But, here's the thing. If people who pay attention to, especially the NFL is very high tech. And so you'll see, for example, the quarterback come off the field from a drive and go sit down, and he's got a tablet in his hand.
Yeah.
And he is looking real time at pictures and videos and statistics so that they can adjust on the fly.
Yeah, they can show him that his hands are turned this way, just like that.
Right, exactly. And so, we try to provide to our business. I use that same analogy, is that we try to provide data to the decision makers in the company so that they can make adjustments on the fly. They're not waiting until the end and say, oh, well, we didn't do as well as we wanted to do, so we'll correct next time. We can help them to make better decisions even on the fly. So that's one of the ways that we try to improve the quality of the service that we provide to our internal customers.
That's great. So guys, when we're talking about improving a quality of a service or product, Jay works at it from a corporate level. So if you're in a corporate job, his advice is invaluable. It's not a space that I have ever been in, but I definitely like listening to him when he's having board meetings or they're discussing $1 million transactions or revenue or whatever, and how they actually affect that. It's really interesting. For me, so maybe you haven't thought about this, but when I'm sitting with people at this desk, how I improve their life or their experience or the service I'm providing it's right here. So they'll be looking at, well, we always purchase $15,000 cars with cash. The cars have gotten a little bit too expensive. We're going to do this and that and this, and we want to finance the car for 72 months. And I sit there and I'm like, look, I get you want to do that, but do you really want to finance this for 72 months a vehicle that already has 80,000 miles on it? And you'd be surprised that they don't think about that. They're not thinking about how signing up for this 72-month package is going to affect them for 72 months or longer. And so that's kind of my job, is to give you what you want, but also challenge your thinking. Like, hey, man, maybe we shouldn't be doing this. I mean, if we're going to do 72 months, let's get a car with like 45,000 miles on it. We'll spend a little bit more money up front, but over 6, 7, 8 years, your family is going to be safe, instead of getting exactly what you want today and then having to come back and see me again in 4 years. So that's how I improve those situations when I'm talking to people, to help them understand that it's not just about today, it's about what's going to happen over the 6, 12 years.
Right. And it's interesting too, and continuing to use you as an example, and we get into points 3 and 4, which I think are great examples. So fixing an existing problem and preventing a future problem. And so, not too long ago, I wanted to purchase a new truck.
Yeah.
And along with that, I wanted to get a bigger camper to be able to go camping.
Yep.
And so, one of the things that you helped me to work through is, look, yes, we can put you in just about any truck out there, and that will fix your existing problem. You want to pull a bigger camper. You helped me to figure out that there were any number of things that would solve that immediate problem. But the thing that you also helped me think about and to validate was, I never thought about buying a diesel.
Right.
And, you were like, look, you can invest now in this diesel, and, that doesn't even break in for 100,000 miles. You can drive a diesel for 200, 300,000 miles. And so now you've made this investment, and you can drive this thing for 10, 12, 15 years. But I also like the fact that you were very candid and said, look, if you're planning on getting out of this thing in 3 years or 4 years, then don't do this. You should, we can do something else. So you were not only helping to focus on the immediate problem, but you were also thinking long term and keeping me from getting into a situation where I had a problem because I was upside down in a vehicle, and now I don't want it anymore.
I like that, and like for guys, if you're listening to this, you can do transactions all your life. You can do transactions. You go to Target, you pick up a piece of product, you take it and check out. That's the end of that relationship, right? You don't have a relationship with Target anymore, and until you need to go back there. If you're working to improve your value on your job in a corporation, it all starts with relationship, or if you're building a business, which would be my end of the spectrum, I'm all about the relationship. I have found that the relationships take me so much further than the transactions. The transactions are just there. They're just they're a result of the time and effort that we put in to promote the value. And in the corporate side, how far you move up that ladder is definitely dependent on your execution and your skill set, but how you add value to that organization. And you can be creative with it. I think that's what's great about listening to Jay, because Jay, he's almost the CFO of this company. He's like VP of finance. And so he's achieved a lot. But, when we get deeper in his story later on in this video series, you find out that for most people, you got to have an MBA to get where he is. And so how did you do that without an MBA? It was relationships. It was adding value. It was, going above and beyond. All of these different things that have helped him succeed tremendously in the world. And I think he'll say the same thing. We're not unicorns. We're not very special. We're not one-offs. You guys can do this too. Anybody can do it. And that's like the core message that we want to put out to the world is, here's how we did it. You can use some of these tools, and you can definitely understand in your own life that we're not unicorns. You can do this yourself.
Absolutely. And it doesn't even matter, it doesn't matter what you do, trying to find a way to, um, again, add value. And this could be, you could be a coach. And, if you focus on just bottom line wins and losses, yeah, that's one way to look at it. But I
Yeah.
think that you can also look at, for me, when I coached, I coached soccer for 10 years and I wasn't worried about my own coaching record because
Right.
I knew that when that was all said, and I was never going to coach MLS or FIFA, whatever the case may be. I was never coaching at that level, but I was trying to figure out how could I do something different for these young men and young ladies that I was coaching, and so that's what I tried to do, and it was really special for me. A year ago when my son graduated from high school, seeing him and 6 or 7 of his teammates that all graduated on the same day, and being
Wow.
able to take a picture with them and having them still calling me coach helped me to realize that I added a value to their life over and above what their soccer is. And so these we've got these young people are out. In some cases, some of them are in college now. In other cases, some of them are out starting their professional career, doing different things, and it's really special. So I think that adding value applies no matter what you're doing.
That's real great, man. Real cool. So the next one is fix an existing problem. Fix an existing problem. So if you're looking to add value in the corporation that you work for, your own personal business, your life, your team, your sports team, your kids' band, how can you fix an existing problem? I'll share one example that I had when I joined this company in '98. We were buying cars and giving them to people, and it was working out great. We were doing about 20 cars a month, and it was fantastic, right? Like this was like a perpetual thing. We were getting people, getting cars, doing deals, and everybody was having a good time. And I was noticing people calling me back about this or that or some type of issue, and I was like, my goodness, we should probably do inspections. it was like it was like a glaring hole in our industry. Like, I bought you this Honda Accord. Everybody thinks it's going to be fine. Um, but when I wanted to add value to the client's life, I wanted to inspect that car so that I could forecast what that car was going to need. And so I basically developed an inspection report, took it to some mechanics, got them all worked out. So then we just added that piece to the program, get the customer, get the car. Now the car, instead of going to the customer, goes to the inspection process, and we get a list of things we need to repair or adjust or add to. And that was game changing for us because we could then give you a vehicle in complete confidence that someone had looked at it that was a professional, that was not us. And so that really fixed a problem with our customer satisfaction index and everybody that bought a car from us. So I thought that was really cool. What happened with you? I mean, what did you fix a problem with in the early goings of your creating value for your life?
Well, the interesting thing with there's a number of examples that come to mind, but even with something a bit more recent is you know with the things that we do in our company, there's a lot of data that comes into the company, but we don't always know what's that data telling us.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know exactly what all of those things mean. And so one of the things that we tried to do was to create some partnerships within the company, get some cross-functional teams together. So, we've pulled together people that have a data science background. We've pulled together people who truly understand the aviation industry. We've got engineers who understand how that data is being generated by the equipment. And then, we've got finance and accounting people. And so we will sit down and try to analyze these things together. And so in one particular instance, without going too deep into it, anybody who is familiar with any type of a service business. So take, for example, if you have a gym membership.
Yeah.
Those type of companies have a tendency to measure what their churn is, how many customers leave them. And, we thought that we had a churn level that was approaching 20%,
Wow.
which, seemed really bad. But when you look at other data, it's like, but this data doesn't really support that. So we kept digging into it and digging into it, and come to find out that our churn wasn't 20%. Our churn was actually less than 3%, which is fantastic.
Like that's going from disastrous to outstanding.
Right, right. And understanding that the difference between those two is that we didn't actually lose a customer. This customer just bought a new airplane. So it looks like we lost a customer, but we actually, not only did we not lose a customer, but we actually gained an extra customer because they sold their airplane to someone else, and then they connected with us. So, we were able to look at the data, dive into it, and turn out that a problem wasn't exactly a problem. But the way that we fixed it was just diving in and continuing to ask questions and understanding what, trying to understand more about that problem.
That's great, man. I mean, you're doing it at for you corporate people that are tuning in, this valuable information. So for me, it's a lot lower thing, but the next thing is preventing a future problem. Preventing a future problem that you see as a service provider, as a salesperson, as an advisor. It could be a financial planner. You can look at your client's picture and assess it and help them prevent future issues. That I do that daily. So I'll sit with people. How it's worked for me is I'll sit with people and understand their entire vehicle situation. And sometimes the relationships get even deeper and we're like, okay, what are your financial goals? I'll show you how this car is affecting those financial goals. And so we talk about it. And then I can point out that, well, do you realize on your current car, it's going to be due a timing belt in another 20,000 miles, which is less than a year of driving for you. And so how are you going to budget for that? Are you just going to wait for it and then react? Or are you going to sit here and start to plan your vehicle stuff out properly? So I prevent future problems for people quite often just throughout conversations with them. I can't say that all of them take the advice, but I can foresee it. And so I try to help them through that problem. So forecast is right up your alley. Share with us your ways that you prevent future problems when it comes to money.
Well, the interesting thing, I in our company. So years ago, I've been with my company for 8 years, and we've seen our business transform a little bit. So we went from primarily a company who the majority of our revenue was off of hardware sales, and a significantly less portion of our money was off of our service revenue, or that subscription revenue that was generated from those hardware sales. Well, because we spent a lot of time doing long-term projections, we did a lot of modeling, 10 years out, that showed that if we continued to do things the right way, that was going to shift. If we continued to grow our subscriber base, that monthly recurring revenue, the razor blades, so to speak, would grow and it would flip. And we recognize that it might be beneficial to us to sacrifice some short-term profitability. So if we sacrifice a little bit of margin by cutting our equipment prices, we might be able to sell to more people in order to get more service revenue coming in. Mm-hmm. And, that was one of the things that we did. And so now, when we went from hundreds of aircraft using our service to now thousands of aircraft using our service. And we went from 80% of our revenue being equipment based to now 75 to 80% of our revenue being service based. And now we are much less susceptible to downturns in the market. So for example, back in 2008, when there was a major economic downturn,
right,
aviation industry suffered quite a bit, as long as the automobile industry suffered as well.
Yeah.
But now that won't be nearly as crippling to us. We might not sell as many new pieces of equipment on new aircraft, but because we have such a large customer base already, it's not going to be nearly as painful for us in 2019, 2020 as it might have been in 2008.
Oh man, I love that business model, man. I really do. Like, just with the tariffs alone, the cost of metal and all types of things have inflated, and that'll cut into your margins. But when you have that recurring revenue, it's just fantastic.
Absolutely.
All right.
Well, there's a question out there that CC was asking about the inspection process that you were talking about earlier, and she was asking, does that process make the vehicle more expensive?
Oh, okay. Doesn't the inspection process make the vehicle more expensive? So, thank you for the question, CC. So when I inspect vehicles, I know most people think I'm doing it for them. I'm really doing it for me, because I'm providing you a car, and my name is going on that car down the road with your family in it. And so the first reason I inspect the vehicles is to protect my reputation. So I want to make sure that the product that I'm giving you is of the highest quality that I can provide. So no, not necessarily. I mean, for the most part, I'm usually selling vehicles that are still under warranty and newer cars. So it's usually not that big of a deal. But, if we run into something like, hey, CC, this vehicle is going to need a set of tires in about 6 months, would you like to get my cost on those tires now, or would you like to wait until 6 months goes by and replace them on your own? So we just have a discussion about it. It doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to charge you more for that vehicle. Does that make sense? I hope it does.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. So, I mean, I believe that this conversation that we've had about adding value, I mean, honestly, I think that you can apply this no matter what you're doing. Again, whether it's corporate America or in an entrepreneurial type setting, and even the type of thing. My brother's online. What's up, Jeff? As a captain in for a fire department, he's found ways to add value. They didn't hire him as a captain. And
somebody got to cook the river chicken in the joint. That's for making me wear that jersey, Jeff Boykin.
That's funny. That is funny. So I really do believe that this whole conversation about adding value applies to many different areas of your life. So it's been a good conversation.
Yeah, I think just to wrap it up. So like when you're looking at ways to add value, Jay came up with improve efficiency, improve quality of a service or a product, fix an existing problem, or prevent a future problem. So, when you're thinking about ways to improve your corporate life or ways that you want to grow your business, these are things and areas that we have a lot of experience in and have gone through over and over and over again. And they seem to work out very well. Would you agree, Jay? Absolutely.
I think that they are time tested and proven by our own personal experience. But I think that others would agree with that. But I'm definitely open. I also think that another way that you continue to add value is by continuing to learn. You got to continue to grow. So I'll be open whether folks post comments later. If they have other thoughts on that, it may be something that we can address in future videos.
That's a really good point. Like if you've got ways, guys, if you've got ways that you've added value to something and it's helped your life or your business or your company or team, please post it in the comments. We'd like to investigate that as well. We don't proclaim to know it all. These are just our experiences. That's it. So they could be right or wrong. They just have worked out for us. So if you've got other things you would like to share, we are definitely open-minded to looking into it.
Absolutely.
So let's see if there's any other questions. We are a budding channel, so we don't have a lot right now. Oh yeah, Nick, Nick in JB. Hit the like button so people don't think we're whack. That's what my brother would say. Hit the like button, share it with your friends. This is kind of a long video. How long have we been on now? Oh my goodness. Like, I don't even know, but it's probably been a while. I'm still having fun talking to you, my man. Do you have anything else for our people before we jet?
No, I appreciate folks tuning in. I always appreciate having the opportunity to chat with you, and we will continue to unpack this story and see where this journey leads us.
Yeah, so every week we're going to get a little bit better with our technology. We're going to eventually do some dual channel broadcasts with Jay's channel and my channel. We've got a lot of stuff in the pipeline, but you know, guys, if you're on this journey with us, we are just figuring it out as we go, but we are so happy to share this information with people. So add to the conversation so that we can take your ideas and promote them on this channel as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you to CC. God bless you. You guys have a good day. Jeff, I will probably see you in DC later tonight, but it'll be like 7 p.m. But yeah, I would like to try out my M44 carbine later on tonight. All right, man. Well, look, let's go off the air and I'll talk to you in a few minutes. Y'all have a good day.
Love everybody.
Love you too.